There were two things that I've never said to a jury before. Remember them? I have something else that I've never said to a jury before. This is the most ridiculous, frivolous defense I've ever heard in my entire career. This is insane. This is like something out of a law school book where you learn about frivolous defenses. We hear when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a civil trial lawyer. And they go, well, what types of cases do you do? And I say, well, I represent people that are seriously hurt. I represent families who have lost loved ones, who've had, somebody negligently, wrongfully taken from them against big corporations. And that's what I do, and I'm proud of it. And they go, oh, you're a personal injury lawyer. How about those frivolous lawsuits? And I say, I don't see that many of those, and I don't handle those. But what I do see is I see frivolous defenses. I see them time and time again. But I've never, ever seen one like this. This is insanity. And credibility is important. In the opening statement, I said, hold us to what we say. Hold us to what we say. My grandfather taught me, I grew up working on the farm, that be a man of your word. And credibility is everything. And if you're going to come and say something to somebody that's complete nonsense with a straight face, then you ought to not be trusted. Ever. Ever. It takes a lot to, build credibility. It takes this much to ruin it. They have no credibility. This is nonsense, this is frivolous, and you have to put a stop to it. You're the only ones that can, because obviously, we can't. We can't. That's the power that this corporation has, and that these corporations in America have, to do whatever the heck they want, to victim blame. This is victim blaming 101, and they get away with it, unless a jury tells them no. And you see what it takes to get to trial. And this young man has had the courage to stand up for himself. But it's all for nothing unless you stand up for him. This nonsense, and I am upset. And what I told you about defense counsel, it's nice people, but that is not nice. But they're towing the corporate line and doing their job for the corporation, as they must, I suppose. But it's nonsense. Shift, 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 tilt, tilt, whatever. This doesn't fall if it's put in right. Is that theater, or is that common sense in putting this all into perspective? This is only put in 1 inch. It's not all the way in. We saw it yesterday, and it's dangerous, and it's going to fall, and it's going to burn the heck out of somebody and change their life forever. And that's what happened here. Burden of proof. The burden of proof shifts to them to show that Michael did anything wrong. And we asked their expert there, Han Lee of MIT. Han Lee of MIT, what did he do wrong? Oh, I wasn't asked to look at that. I didn't look at that. Why not? Because he didn't. They can't meet their burden of proof. They haven't proven that he's done anything wrong. They just want your prejudice and your bias and your speculation. But you won't give it to them because you're good people. It's nonsense. They can't meet their burden of proof to show that he did anything wrong. Is this negligence? 1.4 seconds? This? And the whole dropping of the shoulder nonsense? That's just ridiculous. You've got his bicep, his arm moved and shifted. This went off. That should not cause this drink to spill. The only reason it spilled, and get this, you want to talk about corporate dishonesty? They have an expert that they pay $80,000 to. When he put her on the stand, asked her questions, and what question did he ask her about the cup? Did he ask her one question about the cup? He didn't. He didn't ask her a single question about the cup. It wasn't until my partner, Daniel Bidegaray, got up and asked questions about that. Because her analysis, when she did everything, was the cup wasn't placed right. It was dangerous. And you'd think if she is this MIT biomechanical engineer with all the, experience, then why didn't she do testing to See, okay, if we fill a cup full of a hot medicine ball and we don't put it down all the way, what will it take to make it spill? She didn't do that? Why not? I'll tell you why not. Because the corporation didn't have her do that. With expert witnesses, we can say, you know what, look at this, but don't look at that. Test this, don't test that. We don't want you to test that because it spills that quick, that easy. Who did that analysis? John Bro did. And he goes, the tea bags in the water moving is enough to make it happen. That's all it takes, and you were able to see that here. Just a bit of movement and it spills. And that didn't even have the tea bags to make it spill. He talked about the force and how easy this could burn somebody. She didn't even look at that. That's how you can reject her testimony completely, because it's nonsense, it's junk science. They would call in expert witnesses to say smoking doesn't cause cancer, pouring arsenic in the river doesn't cause leukemia and hurt kids, suing Monsanto, and they should see the stuff that they say. These corporations and what they say with their experts from MIT or wherever the heck they fish them out from and pay them money. Well, she's not working at Lockheed anymore. She's doing expert work for Starbucks. Junk expert opinions. The one piece of her opinion is that she actually measured it, and it only goes down an inch and it doesn't go down all the way. And that's why they're dead in the water on their case. That's what caused this to happen. It's such nonsense. Civil rights, civil justice matter. And these folks are tricksters. What they did to this boy, what they did to him, imagine a human being, third-degree life-changing burns to their penis with skin grafting, the pain that he described. And then they're asked to produce a video. No video. They put him through a deposition. They grill him, ask him what happened. And he has the gall to come in here and say, and I don't get upset in closing arguments. This is just nonsense. What happened to him? He asks questions. He says, well, read from a deposition. What was in the front seat? Was there anything in the front seat? It's like, I don't know. But remember I had to read from the deposition to show where he told them? He said, I think my dog was in the front seat. But if we would have left it, you would have been tricked. You would have been tricked into believing by defense counsel, and it's not nice. He would have tricked you into believing that Michael did not tell them there was a dog in the car and that there was a dog in the front seat, but I read his sworn testimony and showed you that that's exactly what he told him. But he would have tricked you otherwise had I not pointed that out. The defense is not to be trusted here. Bad behavior. He said, I remember a tall African-American woman. And if you do look, they come in and they rush at the end. And that did happen. And you know what it takes to glance up and look up? It takes less than a second. And those frames are every second. But Michael did his best. He did his best to put this together when they hid the video surveillance. And they didn't have it. They hid it. Tricky tricksters, this corporation. That's how they do business. That's scandalous is what it is. He talked about, we're going to go through this. Civil rights, civil justice matter, but they don't exist without you. They don't. The last thing we have in this country is the American jury. That's what I believe. Corporate responsibility. There's a big lack of that here. You've heard the evidence. You've heard that it is Starbucks policy that once their hands are off something, no matter how they hand it to somebody, it's their corporate policy. They're not responsible. Well, that corporate policy changes now with you. Because if not, they say, hey, that's what we can do. I hand it to you. Once my hands are off it, whatever happens. Even if I handed you a burn, not my fault. That's this corporation, and you've heard it. And that's the truth. 9 out of 12 of you, this should take 5 minutes to decide. Go back there, find a foreperson. Maybe the foreperson is the quietest person. This means you got to tell everybody when to come back and make sure everyone gets a voice. But that's up to you all. And then, so who's the foreperson? You can agree. then if 9 out of 12 of you, and it should be all 12, if 9 out of 12 say, question yes, question 1, yes, question 2, yes, question 3, no, question 4, no, that's it. That takes 5 minutes. You go home, you have tomorrow off, we see you on Monday, and then I will tell you what happened to this boy. But if you answer no to question 1, no to question 2, I never get to tell you. And there is just a horrible, dark pit of injustice that has never been filled. Speculation, he did nothing wrong and they haven't met their burden of proof. That's why question 3 is no, question 4 is no, question 1 and 2 are yes. This ain't rocket science. And if you got a rocket scientist, then have her test the cup and what it takes to make that cup fall. But they didn't do that intentionally, because they didn't want her to have to answer those questions on the stand. You have seen the way this corporation does business and defends itself, and it's despicable. Starbucks defenses, that's what it is. One hand, two hands, it doesn't matter, because if the drink's put in right, we've shown you that every which way to Sunday. Do I need to show you any more? No. Because they don't fall if they're put in right. One hand, two hands, it's ridiculous. Cup 3 wasn't secured, that's why this happened. That's negligence. Negligence isn't intentional or willful. Negligence is the failure to use reasonable care in protecting your customers. But clearly, that is acceptable to Starbucks, its corporate representative. Starbucks gets to choose who their corporate representative is, and they chose their corporate representative who took the stand and said, nothing was done wrong here. Is there a problem with that? Yes, there is. Because that's the callous disregard for human safety and human rights that this corporation obviously has. But only you can say it's unacceptable, because they won't listen to me. They handed him a burn. And if this is acceptable corporate policy, then it's got to stop here and now. Because you can't hand good people burns. It's wrong. And then to get up here and say we have no responsibility to look at this and say she did nothing wrong. I sat there and I went through it with her. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. She wouldn't even hand it to me without it being pushed down right. She wouldn't even hand it to me. And then when I said, okay, but if you did hand it to me this way, I finally got her to do it. After 4 times, she kept putting it down, putting it down, putting it down. And if it had been put down in the container the way that it should have, then we wouldn't be here, and this man wouldn't have 3rd-degree burns and skin grafts to his penis. If that employee would have done what she did, but yet she said, my employee did it right. It makes no sense, the frivolousness here. But that's how far they'll go to toe the corporate line. And then when I left out, I said, now if you handed it to me that way, and it spilled, you'd be responsible. She goes, nope. Is that a problem? It's a huge problem. And these stores go all across America and throughout the world. That's a problem. It's not okay to do business that way. Corporations get the privilege to make money off of us, then they have to take care of us and do right by us too. She came up with a model to match Michael. Michael's biceps aren't like that. This is ridiculous. But she put the cup in right at least. She got that one right. Common sense. We don't need a rocket scientist. We need common sense, accountability, responsibility, brutal honesty, and that has not come from this side of the courtroom. This is something simple. Well, if you don't send someone off with a dangerous tire, you don't hand them a dangerous drink. This is the most surprising corporate policy I've seen. Once our hands are off of it, no matter how it was put in, no matter how dangerous it was, it's not our responsibility. That's gross. It's a gross corporate policy. He got up here, looked you in the eye, and said, Starbucks is a good corporate citizen. A good corporate citizen. Remember he said that? I didn't get up here and start saying Starbucks wasn't a good corporate citizen. I said, let's focus on the conduct of the employee and make this simple. He wants to make Starbucks out to be something that it's not, because good corporate citizens do not behave this way. Good corporate citizens do not behave this way. But you know what? You can't put a corporation in jail. You can't write them a ticket. But you can bring them in front of an American jury in a civil case. That's what you can do. That's the remedy. But that is not good corporate citizenship, what we have seen here. It's despicable, wrong, dangerous corporate citizenship. Lack of accountability. Starbucks started in Seattle as a little ma and pa place. And if it's turned into this, then it's got to stop. Not moving. Did this go dead, maybe? Someone click it for me? I'm almost done, Your Honor.
Yeah, plug it into your computer.
I don't know where it's playing from.
Oh, right here.
You got it? It's right there. Here, look, right there, probably. Thank you. There we go. But what is corporate citizenship, since he wanted to bring that up, since he made that an issue in this case? That's why I'm talking about it. Responsibility to society and others. How does a corporation operate in the community? How does it handle its legal, ethical responsibilities? Well, if this is how Starbucks behaves as a corporate citizen, then we got to stop it. Because this is not okay. Because this is the corporate citizenship that we have seen. And it does not say delay, deny, depose. That's what we've seen recently, and that's very sad. And that's very sad. But here, we're doing things the right way, with a civil jury, where things should be done to hold corporations accountable. But as you see, it's tough. It's tough. And there's a reason why they haven't just said, Michael? No, he had to go, huh? It's tough for him. But they should say, Michael, we're sorry. We should have put that drink in the right way. That was wrong of us. How can we help you? We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. We're going to tell our employee that wasn't okay. We're going to make sure people know the importance of putting these drinks in the right way. We're not going to deny, defend. We're not going to withhold a video from you and say we don't have it and then trick you. We're not going to do that. We're going to do right. But no, that's not what happened. We haven't seen that. Again, she said nothing about the cups. And that's something. That's tricky to put your expert up here and not show. He didn't show that slide. Maybe he thought we just wouldn't ask questions about it. Maybe it would just float right on by. This is from their MIT rocket scientist. And I don't think she's a rocket scientist. But this is what she did. This is from her. And she said it's accurate. Is that safe or is that dangerous? That's why this happened. It's the only reason why it happened. The young man did nothing wrong. Starbucks did. That's why this happened, according to their own expert. And she, well, what force would it take? I didn't even evaluate that. because Starbucks in their $80,000 didn't pay her to do that. Or they said, hey, you know what do you think? She goes, I probably shouldn't evaluate that because it's not going to look good for you guys. Okay, then don't. That's how this expert witness business works. It's rotten. Look at the difference from the cup that was put in right and the cup that wasn't put in right, according to their own expert. And why wouldn't he put up this slide and talk about it? Because it's damning evidence. That's why. Starbucks corporate rep, she told us what the rule is. Boom, she wouldn't even hand it over to me. Even knowing it wasn't hot, she wouldn't even do it. You call that theater? Well, if that's what it takes in a courtroom, this is not theater, this is reality. And we saw it right here. Why is there this instruction? Why? Why would the judge give you this instruction? Who intentionally concealed evidence? Starbucks did with that video. We showed you when it was we asked to produce it. Oh, then it pops up after his deposition. That's why you have this evidence. And for them to then say that, oh boy, look at his deposition. And look at him, he was thin. He went through a lot that year. Doing his best. Start asking him questions, and he explained. He goes, I'm telling you, I tried to piece it together. It's like after an earthquake and people try to tell you how it all happened. But this was worse. This was worse. This was to the most vulnerable part of his body. And he said, listen, it was crumpled, everything was, he did his best. How dare they imagine a situation where you take a young human being who's gone through this and then start asking him with questions and then surprise him with the video that you've withheld, that the corporation has withheld all of that time. That's rotten, rotten corporate behavior. It's rotten. And it's rotten for defense counsel to then get up and toe the line and try to say, oh, look at his testimony, and it doesn't matter, we have the video. That's rotten. And that should carry into the next phase of the trial too, this lack of credibility we've seen. So, 100% against Starbucks. That is justice. Anything different validates and ratifies this corporate conduct and this bad behavior from what's supposed to be a good corporate citizen. No, clearly, it's all about the money. Defending this case the way they have. 100% against Starbucks. Yes to question 1. Yes to question 2. And then you don't even need to go down to 4 or 5 or 6. And you go home, and we'll see you on Monday. He did nothing wrong. And here's a really good instruction. Casey 411. He did nothing wrong. He had the right, under the law of the land, he had the right to rely on Starbucks. And if we want to talk about his experience doing all these deliveries, he knew how to get his drinks down on the floor. And he never had a spill and he never had a burn because everything was handed to him right and safely. And so with all of his experience doing Starbucks deliveries every day that helps this corporation make its money, they rely on these drivers. They make a killing off of these drivers. He had a right to rely on them to pass him a drink that was safe. And it was that experience doing it so many times that probably he made the mistake. He made the big mistake, and it's a mistake that we won't ever make, will we? Because now we've seen. He made the mistake of trusting the corporation to hand him a drink that was safe. And the corporation betrayed that trust, and they betrayed it all the way to today. And this is all for nothing without you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard all the arguments. We are going to take our break now. I do want to say that there is a so-called farmers market out there behind the City Hall on the Main Street side. It's pretty good on Thursdays, and it might be a good, nice break. When we come back, I'm going to read some brief instructions, but we're going to start a little later. Let's start at 1:40 instead, since we need to have a full measure of the break. So we'll be at recess until 1:40 then. So we'll see you back here then.
You would agree with this. There's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things, true?
Yes,
There's a safe way, there's a dangerous way, true?
correct.
And when we're dealing with scalding hot drinks, we want to make sure we do things safely, true?
Any drink that Starbucks sells you, there's a certain way that you have to handle it, whether it's hot or iced.
Well, we're
And they
talking.
should be, specifically in this scenario, yes.
You want to be safe, correct?
In any capacity, yes.
Because if you don't put something in right and it's loose, it has a risk of spilling, true?
I didn't say that.
Do you agree with me that if you don't put something in right and it's scalding hot, that it has an increased risk of spilling? True?
No,
It doesn't?
no,
If you don't put something in right, so this one, that's in right, correct?
yes,
That one, that's in right, correct?
yes,
This one, is that in right?
now it is.
Okay? And now it is. If it's scalding hot, is it safe?
All drinks seem to be secured in the cup holder.
If it's scalding hot in there, is that safe? Yes or no?
Now it is. Sticking up, it wasn't.
Okay, he wants you to answer the question when the cup
Right here.
is up in the air like this.
Is it safe now?
No,
And if it's filled with the scalding hot drink, that is at an increased risk of severely burning someone when it's put in that way, correct?
correct.
You wouldn't allow someone to hand someone a drink like that, would you, if it was scalding hot?
It's not in the cup holder, correct, so no.
Because that would be at risk of causing that customer to be burned, true?
Yeah,
Okay. Please hand it to me.
can you put the tray back down, please?
Sure.
Okay.
I know, you want to put it back. I know. Thank you. I appreciate it. Do it like that. It's not all right. Scalding hot liquid in there. Will you hand this to me, or would that be against the protocol?
Well, the drink should be secured, and then I would hand it to you.
Thank you. All right. And why wouldn't you hand it to me if the drink wasn't secured?
What do you think?
Because
Because if the drink wasn't hot, if the drink wasn't secured, then it could potentially cause an accident.
Now, I want you to assume something for a minute.
Okay.
It's like this. Okay? It's scalding hot. See the difference between the two? That's not okay, right?
They're not labeled, so that is correct, they're not.
I want you to hand it to me anyways. I know you don't want to, because it's not safe and maybe you care about it. But I want you to hand it to me anyways. Okay? All
Now?
right, yep.
Okay.
Assuming there's scalding hot liquid in there. Now, if you handed it to me like this, and you let go, and there's scalding hot liquid in there, and it wasn't put in right, and now it spills within 1.4 seconds, you'd accept responsibility for that, wouldn't you?
No,
You wouldn't.
no.
Why?
Because I'm not sure, like, what would happen, how would I accept responsibility for something for that?
And isn't it Starbucks corporate policy that once your hands are off of it, it's on me, no matter what, it's my fault if it spills and not yours?
There's nothing in our policy that states that I can recall.
Well, thank you. It's nice to meet you. Those are all the questions